if you teach people how to create from the quantum field instead of from matter, then if they do that properly and they understand the science of how, then they no longer have to go anywhere to get what they want. In other words, when a person can create the right type of energy, the right type of frequency from the field, and there's a vibrational match between their energy and whatever they want in their life, all of a sudden they start drawing experiences to them. Out of nowhere, they get the phone call as synchronicity. Why? Because you're synchronizing your energy to a possibility in your life. Everything that's in this three-dimensional reality, whether it's an object or a thing or a body or a person, everything gives us the illusion of separation. I'm here and you're there, and there's space and time between us. So the way we function in three-dimensional reality is if I'm aware that I'm sitting here and I want to walk to the other side of the room, to the door over there, I become aware that I'm here, but I'm separate from that other point of awareness over there. And the way I get from here to there is I have to do something. So in this plane of demonstration, I got to move through space. I got to move my body through space. And when I move through space, it takes time. So time is a function of moving through space, one point of consciousness to another point of consciousness. The thought of me being here and the experience of me being there takes time, cause and effect. But then there's me here, I'm sitting here, then I have my dream job, right? And my brain automatically creates my job somewhere out in my future over there. I'm separate from it, right? So I'm separate from my future, just like I'm separate from something else. And so then the only way that I can get to that future is I gotta do a lot of things. I gotta work hard, I gotta fill out applications, I gotta talk to the right people, I gotta go on interviews. It's just the way we function in the world, right? So everything we want is gonna take time and energy, right? Because really, we're matter trying to change matter. And if you're matter trying to change matter, it's just gonna take time. And when it doesn't work, and you get angry and frustrated and impatient, try to manipulate outcomes, we fight for outcomes, we compete for outcomes because we're matter trying to change matter. Now, learn the skills, make the right choices, make the right sacrifices, and meet the right people, and in time, you may get that job. Nothing wrong with that. That's how we create in this three-dimensional world. There's an invisible field of energy that exists beyond this relative space and time. And there's no objects there, there's no people there, there's no bodies, there's no things, there's no places, there isn't even time, right? Now that's a really big concept for people to wrap their mind around because it's nothing material there, nothing physical. It's a vacuum, void of anything material. What we learned in our research is that if you teach people how to take their attention off of everything physical and material, everything known, there comes a moment where the brain begins to switch and we put our attention, instead of on matter, we put our attention on energy. And the quantum field is an invisible field of energy, of frequency, that's filled, fertile with possibility and information. This invisible field of energy connects everything physical and material. In fact, most people, when they study matter, they see matter as emitting a field. But according to the quantum, it's not matter that's emitting the field, it's actually the field that's slowing down in frequency and creating matter. Okay, now if you can reverse that and get a person to a point where they're not their face, they're not their culture, they're not their age, they're not their profession, they're not their diet, not a son, or they're not a mother, they're not aware of their cell phone, they're not aware of their car. They're literally, their attention is completely in the present moment. They walk through this little door, they pass through the eye of the needle, and they enter this realm of the quantum. Now, if you teach people how to create from the quantum field instead of from matter, then if they do that properly and they understand the science of how, then they no longer have to go anywhere to get what they want. In other words, when a person can create the right type of energy, the right type of frequency from the field, and there's a vibrational match between their energy and whatever they want in their life, all of a sudden they start drawing experiences to them. Out of nowhere, they get the phone call as synchronicity. Why? Because you're synchronizing your energy to a possibility in your life. Now, in the quantum, every thought has a frequency. So when a person has the thought of their new job and they can feel the frequency of that thought, it wouldn't be lack. There wouldn't be separation. There wouldn't be frustration. The frequency of the thought of a new job would create the feeling of euphoria, excitement, bliss, gratitude. And thoughts tend to be electric in the quantum field, and feelings tend to be magnetic. And now we teach people how to create a Wi-Fi signal when they connect to the field, and they literally change their energy. The thought being the electrical charge, the feeling being the magnetic charge, and how you think and how you feel is broadcasting energy. There's a little bit more that has to happen because you have to have coherence in your brain. The brain's got to be very orderly, and it's emitting a field. And the heart,
which it can do with stress.
Stress is static. Stress, you disconnect because all of your attention is going on everything physical and material, and you're drawing from this energy that's surrounding your body, and you're turning it into chemistry, and now you're isolated, you're separate. So we teach people how to get that brain coherence going and that heart coherence going, and coherence is rhythm and order. And now you have this Wi-Fi signal, and when there's a vibrational match, or you've synchronized your energy to synchronicity, those serendipities, those coincidences, those synchronicities, those opportunities start coming to you. Now, what's the cool part about that? It seems like there's a shortening of time between the thought of what you want and the experience of what you want, between cause and effect. When we create from the field instead of from matter, if we get really good at it, then the feedback that we experience in our life is letting us know that we're doing something correctly. And when you start getting the phone call or the email or the introduction to somebody, and you scratch your head and you go, oh my God, I'm the creator of my life. And all of a sudden, the next day, your belief in what's possible grows dramatically. So when you sit down to do it the next time, you get better at it. And all of a sudden, more synchronicities start to happen. And so the side effect of it is, and this is what I'm proud of in our community, is that people do the work. They don't do it because they have to do it. They do it because they don't want the magic to end. They want the synchronicities to keep happening. Now, as a young adult like you, it's good to learn both. It's good to learn how to function in a three-dimensional world. But when you look at the advantage of creating what you want, that becomes the exciting part, because now you don't have to force and control outcomes. You just have to create from the field, and then you get up from your meditation. Then your job is to stay in that state, not to return back to where is it hasn't happened yet. You just return back to the old person, right? In separation. If you're living in the feeling of your future every single day, you would never look for it. Why would you look for it if it feels like it's already happened? That's when the magic starts to occur. So this is the experiment called life. This experiment says that there's infinite possibilities that you get to experience and create. So the person who heals themselves for chronic health condition, the next fundamental question would be, if I heal myself, can I heal somebody else? What's the science behind that? And now we know that that's possible. Now that you can heal somebody else, is it possible for the person to even be in the room? Can you do it when they're 2,500 miles away? If you understand the quantum and you build a model, you can produce effects non-locally. And now we're measuring that. So all of these possibilities that were once never even thought as possible, people understand are possible, and not only possible, they're witnessing the outcome. So we would never know what the next possibility could be until we have the experience, and that experience opens our mind to how many other possibilities can happen from that, and it's a never-ending process.
Yeah, I want to get into the concept just to get I know you're really passionate about the mystical, and that's something that I am very, very curious about. And I've heard you talk about how we can actually travel to these dimensions where that future self exists. How do you explain it when it's a dimensional thing?
Wow, okay. In this realm called space-time, this three-dimensional reality, if you just look at the science behind space-time, there's an infinite amount of space. Space is eternal. There's no end to space, right? And as I said, we experience time moving through space. And we got to play by the rules of classical Newtonian physics. And the way that we create in three-dimensional reality is that you see someone that's got the nice sports car and you don't have it. And the moment you experience lack that you don't have it, but you want it, then the lack says, I got to get busy getting that.
Which is social media.
Yeah, of course.
Everything you feed yourself.
Yeah, to keep you consuming, to keep you interested, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. There are dramatic changes that take place in the brain and body, dramatic levels of order we start to see. There's a level of coherence, a synchronization that takes place in the nervous system. Now, if they do that properly, then we could say then, if you're not your body, if you're not anything you're identifying with in your environment, and you're not thinking about time, well, who are you? Your consciousness. You're aware of nothing. You're in this void, right? In this vacuum. Now, that realm that you pass into is fertile, as I said, with frequency, with information. Every thought has a frequency there. In this realm called time-space, it's inverse to space-time. The rules are completely different. There's nothing physical. It's frequency, it's energy, it's vibration, it's thought, it's consciousness, it's information, and connection. Everything is connected. There's no separation. It's unity, it's wholeness, it's oneness. Everything's connected to everything else. You got to change the way you think when you get to this place. So now, in time-space, there's an infinite amount of time. Instead of space being eternal, time is eternal. So there's one infinite present moment, one eternal now. Okay, now let's think about that. If you had all the time in the world to get things done, how many things could you get done? Infinite.
Your imagination.
Yeah, equal to your imagination. Well, that's the quantum. So in the realm of space-time, we move through space from one point to another, and if we want to get there sooner, we move faster. We drive faster, we run faster, we do things faster. If we want to get there,
we work harder too.
Yeah, we work harder, right? You got to work hard, you got to fight for it, right? In this realm, there's nowhere to go. There's no space. So you're connected to everything. So here's the dichotomy. The way that we change our movement through time-space is to change the thought or the frequency. And every past, present, and future possibility is all existing in the present moment. And that's a big one for people to wrap their mind around. So there are dimensions. We can move through times. We can travel through times. Travel in a mystical moment to a childhood memory that defined you, and you can see yourself as your adult self and have compassion for that child and get the understanding that child didn't have at that time, and it'll change your biology in a second. The person who...
Because you're connected to that past.
You are that past. You are it, but you're not seeing it as the 7-year-old child. You're seeing it as an integrated adult called Emilio saying, God, I love that kid. That's not the truth. He just saw it that way. It wasn't his fault. He wasn't responsible for that. Somehow the memory is replaced from a greater level of consciousness. The person who has been abused physically, sexually, emotionally, who has suicidal tendencies, severe depression, anxiety, panic attacks, endometriosis, weird hormonal things, all because of molestation and abuse in the past. In the present moment, they can see their past from a greater level of consciousness and have such a moment of pure love that they don't want to change anything in their past. They think it's perfect for them now because it brought them to that moment of ecstasy, that moment of freedom. Now, as you change your thought or your frequency, you can move forward in time too. And in forward in time, there's an infinite number of possible yous that also exist as potentials.